So shin splints are a condition that's characterized by pain along the inner shin bone or tibia. This is caused by the muscles and bone in that area being overworked by repetitive activity. For instance, if you're increasing your duration or intensity of your running, that can cause shin splints. Also, running on heels, improper footwear, worn out tennis shoes, and then an abnormally rigid arch or a lack of an arch can also cause shin splints. And on top of that, poor running mechanics and over-exaggerated heel strike while you're running can lead to some shin splints. Now, this is a condition that's most commonly found in runners, but any running or jumping athlete could experience shin splints. It is worth mentioning that this is a high probability area for a stress fracture, so by all means, listen to your healthcare professional, and if there's a need for further imaging, x-rays, etc., by all means, do so. So if you will, look at the anatomy with me. We're going to peel back some of these muscles just so we can focus in on the problem area. Shin splints are going to be pain along this area here, this kind of inner mid tibia, kind of mid shaft region. Now if we take our muscles and we put them back on, what muscles do we think are going to be the main muscles we need to strengthen in order to support this area along here, kind of that mid shaft tibia region? We've got this big muscle right here on the front called the anterior tibialis. This muscle is going to play a big role in supporting that shin bone, especially while running. We're going to show you a great exercise on how to strengthen that just in a second. And also along the back side here, we've got Flexor Digitorum Longus. Kind of see it comes along that posterior shaft there, so we want that to be really strong because it kind of butts up to the bone. We'll go ahead and isolate that one. And then you see all of these muscles actually cross that ankle joint there, inserting down there on the foot. Anterior tibialis is going to insert right here on the front side. And so we're going to kind of come to the back once again. Muscle I really like to focus on is the soleus muscle. You can tell that it's a much bigger muscle than the Flexor Digitorum Longus, so we're going to kind of focus on it a little bit more. A lot of times it gets neglected because, as you can see, it's just a one joint muscle, crosses the ankle but not the knee. So it has a good contributor to some mid-shaft tibial stability there for you runners. So we come along the back side, kind of focusing in on the soleus. We've got our big gastroc here. This is the muscle that everybody sees, but that soleus is just the one right underneath that. So with that, I'm going to show you some great exercises to isolate these three muscles and support that mid-shaft tibial region. Now, it is important to note that shin splints are an overuse injury, so we're going to have to decrease load or decrease intensity somewhere with our workouts in order to recover and decrease pain. These are going to be great exercises to do, though, in the meantime while you're recovering. The first exercise we're going to do is for that anterior tibialis muscle that we reviewed. We're going to be at the wall. We'll kind of raise our toes like this, kind of driving our heels into the ground. And what this is going to do is help that anterior tibialis kind of absorb some of the shock whenever we make that heel strike. Now, while we're on the topic of heel strike, I do want to review, make sure that you're not overdoing the heel strike when we're running. We don't want to land with pure heel strike. We want to land with more of a neutral foot, so have a little more shock absorbency when we do that. If we're landing with pure heel strike, that force will be displaced up through the tibia and then increase the pain with shin splints. So with the exercise, the further out we go or take our feet from the wall, the harder the exercise will be. And I do want you focusing on the down phase, so coming down really slow, because this muscle does work mostly eccentrically. So it's kind of losing the battle as it slowly lowers you to the floor. We're going to try to do 3 sets to fatigue on this exercise. To fatigue because this is a repetitive motion. This muscle has a lot of repetitions. We don't want it to fatigue late in our runs and then lead to more shin splints. We want it to be high endurance and highly strong. Now the next exercise we're going to do is for the soleus muscle. We want to be seated or have our knees bent in some capacity We're going to kind of increase the load with the kettlebell. By all means, if you have two kettlebells of the same weight, you can do both legs at the same time. Nothing wrong with that. Right here we have a 30-pound kettlebell, and I'm going to work on coming up on my toe and then coming back down slowly to focus on the eccentric phase. Our knees are bent because remember the soleus is a one joint muscle. So to isolate that muscle a little more, we're going to have the knee bent to kind of take the gastroc out of it. Now I do have another video on the soleus muscle. I actually have two videos that go a little more in depth in soleus strengthening. So by all means, check those out. With this exercise, we also want to do 3 sets to fatigue to make sure we're getting a high endurance out of this muscle and then also strengthening it as well. So the next exercise we're going to do is going to be the third muscle we reviewed in our review, the smaller flexor digitorum longus muscle. To do this, we're going to use a TheraBand. So we're going to wrap this TheraBand around our toes, kind of the forefoot there. What I want you to do is kind of a calf raise or ankle pump into the band, but then at the bottom, I want you curling those toes. Flexor digitorum, so the word flexor digitorum means flexor of the toes. Digitorum is just kind of referring to all of those toes. So to kind of isolate that, we want to flex those toes at the end of that range of motion. Just like so. We're going to keep a common theme here. We're going to do 3 sets to fatigue with this exercise as well. That way we're getting that endurance like we spoke about. Now, I wouldn't be a physical therapist if I didn't mention the impact the more proximal muscles in the leg can have on that shin splint as well. Don't forget to strengthen hip abductors and the glutes as well. That's going to help with any type of shock absorbency that we want to have while running and improve our running mechanics as much as possible. Guys, that's going to wrap up this video. If you liked the video, hit the like button for me. If you feel led to do so, subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of great content. Feel free to check it out. Leave me a comment, tell me what you think. And if these exercises help you, give us some feedback. Let us know. We love to hear it. Thank you.